Delegates, parents, welcome. Today is a big day because besides giving you the recognition and the credentialing that you so incredibly richly deserve, the Congress is here to give you what I call an unfair advantage. Now, let me be very clear. That doesn't mean we're cheating or doing anything untoward. What it means is that we have access to resources otherwise unavailable to you that can really, really make a difference in you winning the race. And that, my friends, includes access to some of the greatest minds on earth. And I'm proud to tell you that today is such a day because we are going to go really deep with a true grandmaster. And what he's going to teach you can literally, and I'm not exaggerating here, change your life, your future, your performance in school, and take it to a whole new level. So I want you to pay incredibly close attention. Don't worry about taking notes because we're going to post a recording and also an AI-generated word-for-word transcript. Just sit there, really take it all in at a deep level because I got to tell you, this is going to be big for you. I'm really excited, really excited. Now, before I introduce our Grand Master, I just want to remind you that if you have a wonderful voice, I want you to enter our National Anthem contest, which closes at 12 midnight tonight Pacific Daylight Time. And those that get selected are going to receive their Award of Excellence with distinction, so do not be shy. However, if you don't have a great voice, please don't enter. You're going to have a lot of other opportunities to make this your Congress. In fact, starting again tomorrow. So go to futuredocs.com/replay for details, okay? So enough about that. Without further ado, let me introduce our Grandmaster, Mr. Jim Kwik. Jim has been a friend of mine for years and years and is recognized as a world expert, and I personally think the world expert on memory improvement, brain optimization, and accelerated learning. And the reason I admire him so much is that he has dedicated his life to helping others unleash what I would say is their true genius, their true brain power. He's host of the top education training podcast, Quick Brain, and the instant New York Times best-selling author of Limitless, Upgrade Your Brain, Learn Anything Faster, Unlock Your Exceptional Life. For over 2 decades, Jim has served as a brain coach to entrepreneurs, educators, a who's who of Hollywood elite, professional athletes, business magnates, and just a host of corporate clients. Let's see if I can remember any of them. Google, Virgin, Nike, Zappos, Cleveland Clinic, the UN, Harvard. I know there are more. I mean, the list just goes on and on. He's in Forbes, he's in HuffPost, Fast Company. You see him on CNBC. He really, really has a huge, huge footprint. And he has a website, quicklearning.com, and the online courses there are used by students in 195 countries. He has what I think is a simple and a really profound mission, which is simply this: no brain left behind. No brain left behind. So with that, I'm really proud to bring in Jim Kwik. Jim, have I got you? Are you out there? Well, you're welcome, and I just want to, on behalf of all the young people, I want to just thank you so very much for making the time. It means a lot to me. I know it's going to have a huge impact on them. So if you're ready to go, then I'll just hand the floor off to you. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Let's do this.
Okay, go for it.
Well, welcome to all the delegates and your families. I'm very excited to present the keynote training. And I actually want to treat this as a master class for you on how to upgrade your brain so you can learn any subject or skill faster. And that's my goal with you today as we go live. And first of all, let me congratulate you for showing up right now. If you're watching this, you're one of the few who do versus the many who just talk about things. You want to level up your learning so you can level up your life. And so I'm going to share with you strategies on how to learn, how to read faster, how to improve your memory, how you can be able to master your study skills, how to focus and concentrate in a world full of distractions. And so if any of those subjects are interesting to you, then this is the master class for you. Now, I've had the privilege and the honor of speaking at the past congresses, and it's one of my very favorite times for me. I get to be there with all the incredible Nobel laureates and scientists and doctors and just people from all these different fields, and the goal is to empower you. And I believe if there's one skill to master in the 21st century, it's our ability to learn faster. In a world that's ever changing, as it is right now, where industries are being disrupted and there's so much information, we feel like we're drowning in it all. So how do you learn it? How do you read it? How do you focus on it? How do you study it? How do you retain it all? How do you apply it so you can get to the next level of your learning and also your life? So I'm going to go through a lot of quick tips right now. My goal is to make this practical, because if somebody, your time and your attention is what your life is made out of. And so I want to make sure that you get so much value out of this session, and I can't wait to see you in the upcoming Congress also as well. And so I want to make this so useful to you that you felt like it was worth your time and your tuition just for this session alone. Now, as Richard said, I teach these courses, and we have students from 195 countries online. My last name is actually Kwik, spelled Kwik. As Richard said, I didn't change it to do students from 195 countries online. My last name is actually Kwik, spelled Kwik. Because this is my mission. I didn't change my name. My last name really is Kwik. It's my father's name, grandfather's name. I used to be a runner back in school, which is a lot of pressure when it says Kwik right on your shirt, if you will. And I get to do my mission is help people to learn quicker. And so let's jump into this right now. If you want better grades in less time, if you want to qualify for better spots in university, if you want to be able to advance your career, we live in an age right now where it's not your brute strength. Maybe at the change of the 20th century where people working on farms and factories, it's not your brute strength, it's your brain strength, right? It's not your muscle power, it's your mind power. The challenge is your brain doesn't come with an owner's manual, and it's not user friendly. So I'm here to share with you when this techniques out of my new book. It just came out 2 weeks ago. It's called Limitless. It's upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. You might see the cover quote there. It's from Will Smith. I help a lot of actors speed read scripts, memorize their lines in a fraction of the time. He says Jim Kwik knows how to get the maximum out of me as a human being. And I share that with you because it doesn't matter what age or stage you are, that everybody can improve in these areas. We just weren't taught how. So I wrote this as an owner's manual for your brain. You can find out more about it at limitlessbook.com. Limitlessbook.com. We're actually bonusing this community here a 10-day reading memory course when you purchase the book. And all the proceeds go to education, to providing school, textbooks, teachers for children who don't have access to it. Also healthcare and clean water. We've built schools everywhere from Guatemala to Kenya. And then the other part of the proceeds go to Alzheimer's research, because I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's when I was very young. And so those are the two passions I'm interested in, is brain health and education. So know when you get your education, you're also supporting the world, improving their brain power and learning. So let's jump into this. You can take notes. I know that they're going to provide a transcript of this. If you happen to have pen and paper by you, I'm going to show you a kind of cool way of taking notes because I think school is a wonderful place to learn what to learn, math, history, science, Spanish, but there aren't any classes on how to learn those things. No classes on how to focus, on how to really study, how to read more effectively, how to retain what you read, how to remember facts, figures, foreign languages. And when I've spoken at past congresses, I often do these demonstrations. I speak in front of about 250,000 people a year live, and it's amazing. What I do is I have like 50 or 100 students stand up and introduce themselves to everybody, pass around a microphone, and I'll remember all their names. Or an audience will pass around a microphone and shout out like 100-digit number or 100 random words, and I'll memorize them forwards and backwards. And I always tell everybody, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's really possible, because the truth is you could do this too. You could absolutely do this too. We just were not taught how. Like in school, they teach you 3 R's, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic. Obviously, spelling is not one of those R's. But what about remembering? I always thought it should have been the 4th R. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and remembering, because Socrates says there is no learning without remembering. But if you've ever read a page in a textbook or a book, got to the end, just forgot what you just read, if you feel like absent-minded, like there's too much like you're taking the water out of a fire hose, then what you need to do is upgrade your learning skill, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I would encourage you to take now 4 keys to learning any subject or skill faster. Let's start there. 4 keys. And the reason why I know this is possible is because I grew up with severe learning challenges. When I was 5 years old in kindergarten class, I had a very bad accident, head trauma, brain injury. And after that, my parents said I was never the same. Before, I was very curious and energized. After that, they said I was shut down. I had processing issues. Teachers would repeat themselves over and over, and I would pretend to understand, but I didn't understand. I had very poor focus, poor memory. It took me 3 years longer just to learn how to read. And when I was 9 years old, I had this experience where I was slowing down the entire class, and the teacher, I was being teased by the other kids. The teacher said in front of the whole class, said, "That's the boy with a broken brain. That's the boy with the broken brain." And that label, I think she was coming to my defense, because she was saying, oh, this person has, this boy has challenges. But I took it as that label became my limit. When I'm talking about becoming limitless, I'm saying that sometimes, adults have to be very careful with their external words, because they become a child's internal words. And every single time I did badly on a quiz, which was all the time, every time I wasn't picked for sports, which was all the time, I would always say, oh, because I have the broken brain. Right. And so I'm going to talk about a little bit about our self-talk. But let's get into 4 keys of learning any subject or skill faster. And I would encourage you to actually be active. You take some notes. Let's do this together. Let's focus on this. We'll go to the top of the hour, and I'm going to give you a lot of practical strategies. All right. To learn any subject or skill faster, pretend there was a genie, and a genie could grant you any one wish, but only one wish. What would you wish for? If you could wish for anything, what would you wish for? But only one wish. You would wish for limitless wishes. Speaking about limitless, right? Infinite wishes, millions of wishes. Well, if I was your learning genie and I could help you learn any one subject, any one skill, anything, what would you wish for? What would the equivalent be of asking for limitless wishes? It would be learning what? Learning how to learn. Because if you could learn how to learn, you could apply that towards everything. You could grant all your own learning wishes. You could apply it towards medicine, to math, to Mandarin, to music, to martial arts, right? To management, to marketing. Everything in your life gets easier if you can learn how to learn. And so what I want to do right now is fill in some of the gaps maybe in our traditional education to teach you, because the world, I get to train places with people like Elon Musk and the staff at SpaceX. They're research scientists, they're engineers, and the rocket scientists. And they're building a future where we have autonomous electric cars and spaceships that are going to Mars. But our vehicle of choice when it comes to learning is like a horse and buggy. Right, the world has changed so much, but our way of absorbing the information and keeping up with it has not as much. And that's not a slight against teachers. My mother became a school teacher because she wanted to help me and support me. My aunt is a professor of neurobiology at a very prominent Ivy League school in Boston. Like, I have had such respect for teachers. It's just the system hasn't improved as much as the world has grown. So let's go into this. 4 keys to learning any subject or skill faster. I want you to remember FAST, F-A-S-T. F-A-S-T. And I use a lot of acronyms and mnemonics just to make it easier to remember, right? And so the F, if you want to learn any subject or skill faster, I want you to start by forgetting. And you're like, Jim, you're the memory expert. You're the memory coach. You know, why do I want to forget? In order to learn something brand new, it helps just temporarily to forget what you know about a subject so you can empty your cup. Because there are always the half-life of information in medicine and science and technology. It's getting shorter and shorter, right? People are graduating. There's new information that's coming out. So temporarily be open-minded. Your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And so that you can learn something new. All right. So temporarily forget what you know about a subject. I would also say to forget about distractions. And that's easy to say, but here's the thing. When you think you're multitasking, you're really not. Even right now, as you're doing this, if you're on your phone or if you're doing other things, you're not really focused. And the science has been very conclusive. Multitasking is a myth. You cannot do 2 cognitive activities at the same time. You think you're doing them at parallel, but what you really are doing more accurately is task switching. Task switching. You're actually going from one task to another. And here's the cost. 3 costs. Number 1, it actually takes more time, not less time, because they take anywhere from 5 minutes, 10 minutes to regain your focus and your flow. Back again to this new thing. Secondly, they've shown with doctors that they make more errors when they're trying to multitask, and so you're making more mistakes. And then finally, the third thing is you waste a lot of energy. When you're switching tasks, you're actually burning more glucose, you know, the fuel for your brain. So if you suffer from mental fatigue or brain fog, focus on one thing. So again, the F stands for forget what you know about the subject. Have that Zen beginner's mind, so you're learning it with new eyes and new ears and a new mind, if you will, and keep an open mind and forget about distractions. And if something does come into your mind, just write it down. Don't try not to think about something. That's like me saying, try not to think of a big purple giraffe. Don't think of a big purple giraffe. Whatever you do for $1 million, don't think of a big purple giraffe. What are you going to think of, right? So you can't resist it, because if you resist it, it'll persist. So just write it down so you can release it. All right. And then finally, I'm going to ask you to forget about what your limits are. Some people say to themselves, Jim, I have a horrible memory. They come to me all the time and they say, Jim, I'm not that smart. I'm not smart enough. I'm like, stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limits, you get to keep them. So you want to keep your self-talk positive. You know why? Because your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering facts or remembering names, you will not remember the next fact or name of the person that you just met, because you programmed your supercomputer not to. All right. So F, temporarily forget. Now the A in fast means you want to be active. Because here's the thing. Learning, just like life, is not a spectator sport. Now, the challenge is sometimes, with our education, sometimes you think you're just there to consume information. You're there just to be lectured to. And the human brain doesn't learn best through consumption. The human brain actually learns better through creation and creativity, because that's much more active. And so if you're just expecting a professor or a lecturer to just push information in your head, that's not how the human mind actually works. You learn better by actually rolling up your sleeves and getting involved. Now, how can you be more active? You could ask questions. How can you be active? You could take notes. Because did you know, while there's a learning curve, there's also a forgetting curve. There is such thing as a forgetting curve. And the largest chapter in this book, Limitless, is actually the chapter on memory enhancement. And so I actually wrote it in Greece because I wanted to find out, not only is this book the latest neuroscience applied towards accelerated learning and cognitive performance, it's also based on ancient wisdom, meaning I wanted to know, what did ancient cultures do before there were printing presses? How did they remember history? How did they pass on information for generations. And I found this amazing technique that's 2,500 years old that I'm going to teach you in this session on how to be able to memorize things without using notes and everything else like that for test purposes. So if you have to give a presentation, if you need to pull up facts and figures and formulas, you have them at your mental fingertips with notes on the inside, if you will. So going back to this, you could take notes, and one of the ways, now there are studies done, and certainly you can take notes digitally. The studies done for people who do handwriting notes versus digital notes is the people who actually handwrite notes have better retention and understanding of what they are listening to. Now, one of the reasons why I would suggest, now I like digital because digital is, it's convenient. You could store it easier, you could share it easier, but handwriting notes, you could type pretty fast, right, to keep up to what a speaker maybe is saying. But when you're forced to handwriting notes, it forces you to really listen and use active listening and use a filter saying what's important. Like, how does this relate to what I already know? And you start filtering it because you can't possibly write as fast as somebody can speak. All right. So handwriting notes, and a great way of whole brain note taking is to take a piece of paper and put a line right down the page. And on the left side, you take notes. On the left side, you take notes. On the right side, you make notes. Now, what's the difference? On the left side, I want you to capture, and on the right side, I want you to create. Meaning on the left side, you're taking notes. You're writing down, oh, this is how Jim memorizes formulas. This is a great food for your brain, right? You're capturing this information. This is how you remember facts. You can capture that on the left side. What are you putting on the right side? If most people, they're not paying attention, their imagination will go somewhere else. I'd rather it go on the right side of the paper. And what are you writing down? Your impressions of what you're taking notes on. So you're taking notes on the left side, but you're making notes on the right. What can you put on the right? You're creating. Maybe how does this relate to what I already know? How am I going to use this? Why must I use this? What questions do I have, right? You could put that all on the right side, so you're making notes. And that's another way of being more active, because again, learning, just like life, is not a spectator sport. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out. Now, the S in FAST stands for state. State. Now, when I say state, what I mean by that is the mood of your mind and your body. How do you feel? Because here's the thing. For those of you who want to have a long-term memory and you want to be able to rattle off information just at your mental fingertips, the key is, instead of using frequency or duration, often, let's say you want to build your body, right? You work out. You could exercise more frequently. You could do more reps and you'll be able to build your muscles, right? Or you could spend duration. You could spend more time in a Pilates class or an aerobics class, or more time on a treadmill, right? Or there's a science actually around intensity, where an exercise physiologist or a trainer could make you work out so intense that it doesn't take time, because that's what frequency and duration do. It takes time. Well, same thing with your memory. Most people study through repetition, repeating a fact. This is the lecture of these. This is the periodic table. This is the historical dates. This is these facts, right? And they would do it over and over and over again. Or duration, spend a lot of time studying. Well, you'll learn there's some shortcuts where if you can make studying so intense in a fun way, you add emotion to it, you add visualization to it, you use more of your senses and so on, then you don't have to do as much repetition and much frequency and duration, because that's what takes time. And I'll give you an example, because I'll actually teach you how to be able to apply that in this session. So one of the keys to a long-term memory is this: information. Actually, do this with me. I know it's like a little weird, but this is the active part. Put one hand out and say information. Information by itself is forgettable, but information combined with emotion becomes unforgettable. Information is key to long-term memory, is forgettable, but information combined with what? Emotion becomes unforgettable. I bet you could hear a song that could take you back a few years ago, right? Because information times emotion becomes a long-term memory. I bet there's a food or a fragrance that could take you back to when you were a child, right? Because information by itself is forgettable, but information tied to an emotion becomes unforgettable. Now, here's the challenge. Let me ask you a question. What is the primary emotion most students feel in school? What is the primary emotion, like the most dominant emotion? For a lot of students, it's boredom. And here's the thing. On a scale of 0 to 10, what's boredom? 0, right? And if it's information times emotion becomes a long-term memory, boredom 0, anything times 0 is 0. And then you wonder why you forget a lot of things. So there's a learning curve, but there's a forgetting curve. And the forgetting curve says that within 2 days, just 48 hours, upwards of 80% of information you learn just once can be gone. That means you're studying or you're listening to a lecture, and within 48 hours, 80% of it is gone. So that's why you're taking notes or using a memory technique, one of the ones I'm going to share with you today. All right. So state is never learn something in a bored state, because who controls how you feel? You do, right? You control how you feel based on your thoughts and based on your body, right? Like, if do this, just sit up for a second, shake out your body, shake out your body. Do this, be active, put your shoulders back, put a big smile on your face, right? And just put something that you're excited about in your mind. And if you can't think of something, imagine you could think of something, right? Good. Now, as you're doing that, does it raise a little bit of energy? Take a deep breath. So your physiology and your psychology affects your state. And we talk a lot about that in our podcast and in this book. But here's the thing, never learn something in a dull state. Like, even when you're sitting back and you're slumped over and you're in a state, like right now, sit the way you'd be sitting or stand the way you'd be standing if you were just very interested in what I was saying. You were just very curious. Now, why do you even have to move, right? But you know that your physiology is going to affect your psychology and how you feel. So S is manage your state. And finally, the T in fast stands for teach. Teach. One of the fastest ways to learn any subject or any skill is learn with the intention of teaching somebody else. Because if you had to give a TED talk or you had to tutor somebody on what you're learning, even in this conversation here, would you pay attention differently? Would you take better notes? You'd be more present, right? And so learn with the intention of teaching and teach it, because when you teach something, you get to learn it twice. When you teach something, you get to learn it twice. Now, let's get into this. I'm going to give you right now 3 keys to a better memory. 3 keys to a better memory. And I believe in learning and in life, 2 of the most costly words are I forgot. I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot the answer to this test. I forgot what I just read. I forgot the conversation. I forgot the person's name. I mean, every time you say it, you lose time. You could lose credibility. And so how can you fix your memory? Because memory is a force multiplier. If you can improve your memory, you improve your life, every area of your life. So here are 3 keys. I'm going to give you another acronym. M-O-M. M-O-M. We just celebrated Mother's Day, right? M-O-M. And now what is this? Let's go through this. How do you get a great memory? There are 3 keys. M-O-M. Now, what does the M stand for? Well, let me ask you a question. Let's say you have trouble remembering something. And everyone studies different subjects, and they're gonna major in different areas. So let's take something we could all relate to. Let's say remembering someone's name, all right, as an example, right? Whether it's a name or it's a fact or it's a figure, or it's a formula, just a name, right? And let's say, are you good with names? Honestly, have you ever met somebody, you get their name, and then seconds later the name just disappears out of your mind? Or it's not like a short-term issue, it's a long-term issue. Like, you're out and about and you see somebody you recognize, but for the life of you don't remember that person's name. And what makes it worse is when that person has the audacity to remember your name. It gets really, really awkward. Well, let's say there was a suitcase here, and the suitcase had $1 million. $1 million cash for you or your favorite charity if you just remember the name of the next person you met, right? Or like, who's going to be a memory expert? Everybody, right? Now, it had nothing to do with your capability, because if you said that you're not good at names, it's not absolutely true. It's actually what I talk about in this book. This is actually 3 books in one, Limitless. And there's a section I'm gonna share with you, the Limitless model, which is going to transform the way you see what's possible in your life. I wish this would have been taught to me back in school. And now we teach this again in over 195 countries. We publish these online speed reading programs, memory enhancement programs, focus programs, and a student success program. Student success program that we teach is a 30-day program where I train you and go deep into this. So this is where I'm pulling this information from. But in this book, there's a whole section on something called study. Like, how do you study correctly, because that's something that's not really taught in school. And so going back to your memory, in the two other sections, there's 3 M's. The first section is your mindset. I talk about the 7 lies to learning. And these are 7 generally globally accepted lies that hold you back. And what does a lie stand for? A lie stands for limited idea entertain. Limited idea entertain. It's not true that you have a horrible memory. It's not true you're not smart enough, or whatever you're saying to yourself. And I tell people what the truth is. Like simple things like genius is not born, it's actually built. And I know this because I could help anybody to improve their ability to do better on a test, to do better on an IQ exam, if they will, because there's strategies. There's strategies, always a method behind the magic. But one of the lies when we're going back to memory is that I just can't remember a name. And then when you say that to yourself, the conversation you and I are having right now, this is about transcend. It's about transcending, ending the trance, ending this mass hypnosis. We're saying to ourselves that we don't have a good memory, or we have to just work harder and harder and harder. And I believe in hard work, but I also believe working smart also. Here's the example I give you. I have a podcast. It's the top educational training podcast show on iTunes, and it's called Kwik Brain, Kwik Brain. And you can search my name on a podcast app. Every episode is only 15 minutes long, and it's how to remember names, how to learn a language, how to study better. I mean, we did a study episode, and they put it on the front page of the LA Times for high schoolers, and it's just like, this is important information on how to learn these subjects, if you will. And I did a podcast episode on working smart, what it really means. And I recorded it and filmed it in a power plant, a literal power plant. And the story goes like this. One day at a power plant is really, really busy power plant. Everything just stops and it's pure silence. And the team and the employees there are running around trying to, like, what's going on? What's the matter here? Trying to fix it. An hour goes by, 2 hours goes by, nothing, it's still not working, complete silence. And the manager doesn't know what to do, so he picks up the phone and he calls a local technician, and he's like, you got to help me. Like, we're in a lot of trouble here. And he's like, you're lucky, I'm right around the corner. Technician shows up and he walks around the floor of the power plant. And on this floor, just for like 5 minutes, he looks around. There are all these beams, and all these beams have these electrical boxes on them. He goes to one specific beam. He and has full of electrical boxes. He goes to one specific electrical box. He puts a big X on it with a magic marker. He opens it up, and inside there, you would imagine all these screws and all these wires. And he goes to one specific screw, and he turns it not even halfway, and then bam, what happens? The entire power plant lights up. And the manager's like, thank you, you saved the day, this is amazing. And he's like, how much do I owe you? And the technician looks at him and he says, that'll be $10,000. And the manager's like, what? You were here for 5 minutes. All you did was turn one screw. He's like, can you justify that? Give me an itemized bill. He's like, no problem. He reaches into his pocket, takes out a notepad. He scribbles something on a piece of paper and he tears it off, gives it to the manager. Manager sees it. He's like, I understand. He goes to his desk, take out his checkbook, writes him a check for $10,000 and hands it to him. And you look at the invoice, it says turning screw, $1. Knowing what screw to turn, $9,999. Now, why do I tell this quick story? Not because we have screws loose. It's because, first of all, in today's economy, knowledge is not only power, knowledge is profit. That's why you're in school. That's why you're leveling up. That's why you're doing the deep practice and getting your degrees, because knowledge is power and it's profit. Because the faster you can learn, the faster you can earn, because this is the greatest, your brain is the greatest wealth building asset that you have, right? But we're just not showing how to learn. But the other reason I share this, it was one screw that turned everything else on. And I am obsessed. I call that's a focal point. A focal point is like the one thing, it's like the lead domino. If you hit, then all the other dominoes fall into place. And I'm obsessed because I grew up with the boy with the broken brain. I struggled all through elementary school, all through middle school, junior high, high school. And it wasn't until I was 18 years old that I discovered like how to be able to upgrade my brain like you would upgrade any technology. I mean, but most people upgrade your phones, you upgrade your apps more than you upgrade your mind. And this is a big mental upgrade. All right. So I'm always looking for those screws, and that's what I teach. What's going to give you the most effect? They call it a forced multiplier, where you take the same amount of input, the same amount of study, but you get multiple rewards. And who doesn't want that to have that what Richard was saying, that unfair advantage. All right, the faster you can learn, that's the biggest advantage you have in your life. Now, here's the thing, going back to this, you didn't remember the name, but if you had $1 million to remember the name, all of a sudden you're a memory expert. So the M stands for motivation. What is your motive for taking action? And most people don't really understand motivation. So I'm going to explain motivation in a little bit when I explain the limitless model. If you have trouble putting things off and you just put it off, like your studies, and then all of a sudden the night before you just cram, and the next morning, you pull this all-nighter and nobody could talk to you at breakfast because you don't want anything to spill out of your head, and you can't wait to take the test. And as soon as you take the test and the pen goes down, what happens? All that information, most of it just disappears, the forgetting curve, right? And it's hard because if you need to know that information, as you go on into your profession, where you're going to medicine, you're going to science, you're going to any technology, you need to know that information, right? But it's gone because it's the difference between studying to remember and cramming to forget. So first, check motivation. I'm going to share with you keys on how to do that. Now, the O in mom, I want you to do this. Just shake your dominant hand. Do this. Shake out your dominant hand. I'm going to keep on doing this. We're all doing this right now. This is the active part. This is how you get in your body. Shake out your hand. I want to do this experiment. Look at me. Shake out your hand. Make a fist. Put it to your chin. Now, come on. Where's your chin? Did I get you on that? Your chin is here, right? The O in mom stands for observation. Observation. And what I mean by that is a lot of people come to me and they say, Jim, I have a horrible memory. It's my retention. I'm like, it's not your retention. It's you paying attention. It's not your retention. It's you paying attention. The art of memory is the art of attention. And most people aren't paying attention. In fact, even when they're in lecture centers or they're learning online through Zoom and other platforms, they're not really listening. But write down the word listen right now. Let's do a brain exercise. Write down the word listen. Write it down. This is the active part again. And what I want you to do is a little brain scramble here, mental exercise. Scramble the letters. What word does it spell perfectly? What word does it spell perfectly with the same letters? It spells the word silent. It spells the word silent. And a lot of people, even when they're learning someone's name or they're listening to facts or figures or formulas, whatever they need to remember, they're not really listening, right? What are they doing? They're either waiting for their turn to speak, or they're thinking about how they're going to respond, or they're thinking about something else, right? And so you can't listen to two conversations at once. If the professor or teacher is teaching you and you're talking to yourself, you're not really listening, so that's why you're not absorbing. So the O in mom, observation. And the final M in mom are the methods, meaning that you need to have the methods to read faster, like the On Average, our quick student program. And you can find out about it at kwikstudent.com. This is the program that we have students in 195 countries. We teach it at Harvard, at Caltech, at Singularity University, at UCLA, at NYU, all these different places. Here's the thing. You need to have a method to be able to do these things, and you have to upgrade those methods to meet today's needs, the difficulty and demand of today. And I'm going to share with you some of those methods right now. Now, I want you to draw. I'm going to share with you the limitless model, And this is a 3-part framework for learning any subject or skill faster. Now, when I originally wrote Limitless, which came out 2 weeks ago, it became an instant New York Times bestseller, #1 right now, currently on the Wall Street Journal. The reason when I wrote this book, it was all on methodology, how to learn another language, how to be able to remember facts, figures, how to be able to give a presentation without notes, how to study in half the time and get better grades, how to speed read in this book, how to improve your memory. It was all a book on methodology. And before I turned it into my publisher and I hit send, I said, wait a second. Will 100% of the people who reads this book, get the results they were hoping for? And my honest answer was no. So I didn't hit the send key. And I was like, why not? And because there are 2 things missing before methodology. So I want you to draw 3 circles on a piece of paper, but I want you to make it like a Venn diagram. If you use Venn diagrams, Venn diagram are 3 overlapping circles. And so it's kind of like Mickey Mouse, 2 circles that intersect and also a face. But imagine they all overlap a little bit, all right? These are the 3 keys to accelerated learning and unlocking human potential, because limitless is not about being perfect. It's about progressing and advancing beyond what you believe is possible. And the ultimate limitless resource we have on planet Earth is what? Human potential. There is no limit. It's not, the sky is not the limit. Your mind is the limit. There's no limit to your creativity. There's no limit to your imagination. There's no limit to human determination. And even before what's going on in the world right now, jobs, it's interesting because jobs were going to what? Machines, right? They were going to automation. They were going to artificial intelligence. And what makes you valuable in today's economy is your ability to think creatively, to solve problems, to make clear, accurate decisions, right? To be able to use exponential thinking, the things that we teach in this book, to be able to be more valuable, to patients, to clients, to the world, right? But we weren't taught that. So here's the 3 circles. And I want you to think about an area of your life where you feel limited, an area of your life where you feel like you're in a box. Is it your focus? Is it your reading speed? Is it your memory? Is it academics? Like, where do you feel stuck? Now that box is 3-dimensional, right? Three-dimensional, and there are 3 forces that keep you stuck. And if you want to get to another level, these are the same 3 forces that will liberate you. And these are the 3 circles. Now I'm going to go through this really rapid fire fast, all right? The first 3 M's. The first M is your mindset. Your mindset. Now your mindset are the assumptions and attitudes you have about something. All right, your attitudes and assumptions about the world, about education, about medicine, about science, about your own abilities. Now, what would fall in this circle? Let's put 3 things in the circle. Number 1, what you believe is possible. All right, so what you believe is possible should go in the mindset. What you believe you're capable of. So you could believe it's possible for somebody else, but you might not believe you're capable of it. Or another thing that could be in this circle, what you believe you deserve. So I could teach you the final M, which is methods, all right? But I teach you a method on how to learn facts and formulas in the third of the time and know it long term, if not the rest of your life. But if your mindset is, oh, I have a horrible memory, or I'm not that smart, like you're not really sure, then that's still going to keep you in that box. Does that make sense? Good. The second circle, we've gone through the first and the third one. The second circle is your motivation. Motivation, and I talked about this. Here's the formula for sustained motivation. If you procrastinate, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, if you can't get yourself to tap into your drive, there are 3 parts to the motivation formula, because you shouldn't have to rely on yourself to get hyped up every single time. There's a formula for sustainable motivation. So let's do this thought experiment. Let's say we were going to create the ultimate motivated human being. All right. What are the factors? What are the elements to create that ultimate motivated human being? Let's say it's to study. All right, to study, and they're just not motivated to study. But what are the 3 factors that must be there? It's P times E times S3. P times E times S3. Let's break this down. The first element that must be there for motivation is P, purpose. You need a reason, because if you don't have a reason to study, you're not going to get the result, because reasons reap results. Reasons reap rewards. And it's not just an intellectual reason. You can know that if you study, you're going to make more income, have greater influence, have greater impact. You can know it intellectually, but if you don't feel it, when I'm talking about purpose, you don't feel that emotion, the success formula is head, heart, hands. You could have goals of where you want to go to school and what you want to achieve, what you want to excel at in your career, in your head. But if you're not acting with your hands, meaning you aren't taking action on those things daily and consistently, check in with the second H, which is your heart, right? The emotions, the energy of motion, because we are not logical. You know this. We're not always logical. We think we are, but we're more also biological. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, like with that, all these feelings. And so you have to feel that in order to do it. All right. So allow yourself to feel the benefits, and also allow yourself to feel the consequences of maybe not following through. And and maybe it's a little uncomfortable, but it gets you to act. Just like when you have to cram the night before, because the feelings switch, right? It was pleasurable to procrastinate, and all of a sudden it becomes very, very painful if you don't study, right? And so manage that. Because in the book, I have a quote from a French philosopher, and I'll actually have to read it because it's this: life is the C between B and D. Life is C between B and D. B is birth, D is death, C, choice. All right, choice. You always can make a choice on what you're going to do. And so where can you choose this? When we're talking about motivation, choose to think about all the benefits that will come from studying this material and feel it. And if you can't feel it, it's going to be hard to sustain that motivation. Now my mind went, okay, let's say we're building the ultimate motivated student. And this is the thing, if they just have enough purpose, will they always follow through with studying or anything that is important to them? And my answer was no. They could be missing the E, P times E times S3. The E, energy, energy. Let's say you need to study, right? Or like leaders or readers. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you see pictures of me with the cast of the X-Men and all these people, right? And a lot of the things is that where we connected actually was on books. Because, you know, like pictures of me with Oprah or Bill Gates or Elon Musk or all these individuals, Richard Brett, we bonded over books as leaders or readers. If somebody has decades of experience and they put into a book and you could read that book in a few days, you could download decades into days. Biggest advantage there is. Because the average person has spent at least 4 hours a day studying, or even in careers, 4 hours a day processing information. You think about all the journals and all the research and all the books and texts and emails and all this information, the textbooks, right, manuals. 4 hours a day. If you could just double your reading speed or your studying speed, you could do it in you could save 2 hours a day. What's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? I tell you what, what's 1 hour a day over the course of a year? 365 hours. How many 40-hour work weeks is that? 9. 2 months of productivity you get back by saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading, right? But here's the thing. Let's say you want to study for 3 hours that day and you're not motivated. Why? Because you'd be missing the E. The E stands for energy. Energy. Because what if you, for some reason, didn't sleep the night before or 2 nights, right? We know sleep is so important for the human brain, but let's say you didn't sleep and you don't have the energy, you're not going to be as motivated. Or let's say you ate a big processed meal and you're in a food coma. Is that you're eating the wrong kind of stuff and it's just like you're just like can't get off the couch? Then you're not going to be as motivated to study. So that's why in this book I share with you the 10 keys for unlocking mental energy and vitality. Now, if this student, the ultimate motivated student, has purpose and they have energy, will they always follow through? And the answer is not necessarily. They could be missing S3, 3 S's, small, simple steps. Small, simple steps. A lot of people, even when I work with, people of all ages and stages, and they can't get themselves to work out because in their mind their thing is so big. Like, oh, I want to win the Nobel Prize. I want to have the perfect body. I want to have that make the next $1 billion online med tech, whatever it is. It's way too big, right? So how do you break it down into small, achievable steps? Right? So maybe it's not working out for an hour as an example. Maybe it's putting on your running shoes. Maybe it's not studying for an hour. Maybe it's just opening up the textbook. That's a small, simple step that will get momentum, the science of momentum. And that's what I say. And the way to get this small, simple step, simple question. Ask yourself this. What is the tiniest action I could take? This is if you're procrastinating. First, feel it, make sure your energy is good, and then ask yourself this question. What is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal where I cannot fail? And so that's where you come up with your small, simple step. So that's the equation for motivation. Purpose times energy times small, simple steps. That is really key. Now watch this. The last M, you have mindset. And that's like you have a limitless mindset. You believe it's all possible. You're capable of it. You deserve it. You have purpose. You have energy. But you don't know what to do. So the last M are the methods, right? And in the book, I highlight 5 different superpowers that literally will give you mental superpowers. It's not like you can shoot lasers out of your eyes, but it'll give you laser focus. It's not that it'll make you bulletproof, but you'll have a bulletproof memory, right? Or maybe you're not leaping tall buildings in single bound, but maybe you're leaping through a lot of textbooks and a lot of digital reading that you have to get through. Those are modern day superpowers that we all need to be able to achieve the life that we desire and that we also deserve. All right. So this is what I want everyone to think about. I'm going to show you a slide right now. Let me see if I could do this on this screen here. I'm going to share my screen, and this is what you should have the diagram for. And you might not see this depending on we'll make it full screen for you. This is what you should see. This is the limitless model. The 3 circles we talked about. Mindset is what's possible, motivation is the purpose, and methods are the process. Now, where mindset crosses over with motivation, I'm going to give you 3 I's. You have inspiration. And there's books and experts on mindset. A great book by Dr. Carol Dweck on mindset. It's a must read. All students, all parents must read this. Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. And there are motivational books and motivational experts, right? Where they cross over, you have an I. I'm going to give you 3 I's. Inspiration. And you have inspiring speakers, you have inspiring books, you have inspiring movies. An inspiring movie will change your mindset about what's possible and it'll give you some energy, right? But you don't know what to do. You're inspired, but you don't have the methods. The methods aren't included in that circle. Where mindset crosses over with methods, you have a second I, which is ideation. Your mindset is, oh, I know it's possible in your mind, and you know in your mind the methods, but you're lacking the motivation. So that's ideation. And then finally, where motivation crosses over with methods, motivation and methods, you have implementation. You're motivated, you have purpose, you have energy, and you know what to do. The methods on how to speed read, how to be an active listener, how to study in half the time, how to improve your memory, right? How to be a critical thinker, how to make good decisions. But you're only going to be able to achieve, you might be still stuck in that box of because your mindset, or what you believe is possible, or what you believe you're capable of, or what you believe you deserve. Now, this middle space is the 4th I, which is integration. And that's the goal, like integer or integral, it's whole. And that's the limitless state. And that's what we want you to get at in everything in your life. We want you to be able to achieve and believe everything is possible and have unlimited purpose, have unlimited energy. Now, by the way, these are the same forces that when you feel stuck, use this framework to say, okay, I'm not making traction in this area. It could be a subject, it could be in a skill, it could be the subject matter, right? Biochemistry, right? Or it could be on programming or whatever you happen to be studying, or it could be your skill that you're not making progress in. You're not reading any faster, you're not focusing any better, you're not remembering any better. Then you take this model and you overlap it and say, is it my mindset? Do I not believe it's possible? Do I not believe I'm capable of it? Do I not believe I deserve it? Or do I not feel motivated? Do I not feel purpose? Do I not, and I walk through a whole bunch of exercise on how to find all these things. Do I not have enough energy? And here I talk about the best brain foods in the book and then how to lower stress, how to optimize your sleep, because that's very important for the brain. Or am I not breaking down to small, simple steps? That's why I'm not getting motivated. Or am I using an old method like repetition or outline notes or something that was just, it served people back when there wasn't that much information, but now you have Moore's law and everything's doubling at dizzying speed. And that's, they call it information anxiety, right? Because the information is going up, but how we learn it, read it, retain it, it's the same. And so that growing gap is why you're stressed. Higher blood pressure, compression of leisure time, more sleeplessness. And you want to get this fixed and upgraded now rather than later. Now, finally, I'm going to share with you the 10 keys for unlocking. A lot of the book is on processes, how to read faster, how to do all these things. But you also have to take care of the hardware. So I give you the software and also in there how to improve and upgrade your hardware. And there are 10 keys for a better brain. I'm going to give them to you right now. All right, I'm going to go through more of this for those of you who want the information about the books at limitlessbook.com and also our learning program at kwikstudent.com, kwikstudent.com. But I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can to go through this. 10 keys for having a limitless brain. Number 1, a good brain diet. What you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. All right, so literally it's an area of science that I talk about in the book called neuronutrition, that your brain, while it's only 2% of your body mass, requires 20% of the nutrition, of the oxygen, and it has different requirements than the rest of your body. And so what you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. So some great brain foods, I'll give them to you. And actually there's a video on when people go to limitlessbook.com and they get the book, I gift you a 10-day program on focus. It's like an audio video companion course for the book, and I show you how to memorize these things. But here's the 10 brain foods. Okay, they're neuroprotective. Number 1, avocados. All right, avocados. I'm gonna go through it quick and not explain why. But number 2, blueberries. I like to call them brain berries. Number 3, broccoli is good for your brain. Broccoli. 4 is olive oil. Number 5, if your diet allows, is eggs. Eggs. The choline in eggs is good for your brain, studies show. 6, green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach. 7, if your diet allows also, is wild salmon, right? Because your brain is mostly fat, as you know, and you need the omega-3s, the DHAs, all right? So you can get it also from flax or something else. Number 8, I'll give you turmeric. It's a spice, it helps to lower inflammation. It's supposed to be a good brain food. Number 9, walnuts, and walnuts look like the human brain. And number 10, dark chocolate. Dark chocolate has been shown to be good for your brain. Generally, what's good for your mood is good for your mind. Now, this is not sugar in the chocolate. It's not milk chocolate. It's dark chocolate. All right, so good brain food. I'm going to go through the rest really fast. Number 2, what's good for your brain, taking care of a supercomputer, killing ants. Ants is good for your brain. You're like, what, Jim? Why would I do that? ANT stands for automatic negative thoughts. I got this term from Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a brain doctor. He wrote Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And you want to reduce that negative self-talk, as I talked about earlier in this session. Number 3, exercise. We know that as your body moves, your brain grooves. That when your body moves, you create brain-derived neurotropic factors, which is like fertilizer for neuroplasticity. And so when you know people are physically active, they'll do better on mental acuity, focus, memory tests. And so I don't just mean exercising, like that time you're exercising. I mean like moving. Don't sit behind a computer or a screen all day. Make sure every half an hour you get up and move. As your body moves, your brain grooves. Number 4, brain nutrients. And you should talk to a nutritionist about this, or have a test done in terms of if you're lacking vitamin B or vitamin E, which is very neuroprotective. You're not going to be maybe working at optimal. Certainly, omega-3s are one of the most popular ones for your brain, but talk to a health practitioner. Number 5 is a positive peer group. That's why this community is so great. This Congress, because who you spend time with is who you become. You have these things called mirror neurons in your nervous system, where it's not just your neurological networks, it's your social networks. Because what we start doing is it creates empathy and imitation, where we start adapting and adopting the lifestyles, the eating patterns, the thinking patterns, the language, the habits of the people we spend time with. All right, so positive peer group is good for your brain. Number 6, I would say, is clean environment. Your parents are right, clean your room. You know this, when you clean your laptop off, and you have clarity of thought. Your external world is a reflection of your internal world. That's number 6. Number 7, sleep. Now, why for your brain specifically? I'll tell you 3 reasons. Number 1, it's where you consolidate short to long-term memories. So those all-nighters that you pull, not good for your studies or your performance or your brain. And so that's where you consolidate. If you have long-term memory issues, check your sleep. Number 2, the reason why you sleep is where you clean out beta amyloid plaque. Your sewage system kicks on when you're sleeping in your brain. Clean out plaque that could lead to brain aging challenges. And third reason sleep, it's when you dream. People don't realize this, but when you're learning all day and studying all day, your brain doesn't shut off at night. And we spend 20 years of our life sleeping, about 3 to 5 years dreaming. That's why I teach you how to remember your dreams and everything. Why? Did you know Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein in her dream? Did you know Paul McCartney came up with the song Yesterday in his dream? Do you know a chemist came up with the framework of the periodic table in his dream? Right? There's so many gems in your dream state, in that REM state. So that's why I show people how to remember their dreams first thing in the morning, because you're learning more while you're doing that, and you won't dream unless you're optimizing your sleep. So I give you the best techniques in this book on how to optimize and prioritize your sleep. And then finally, 8, 9, 10. 8, protect your brain. Wear a helmet, because I had 3 traumatic brain injuries before the age of 12. It's resilient, but it's fragile. Number 9, new learnings, because the key for new learnings is novelty. All right, so always be learning. It helps you. Actually, there's a study with nuns living 80, 90 and above. It was a longevity study. They call it Aging with Grace. Half of it had to do with emotional faith and gratitude. The other half, they were lifelong learners. And that because of it, added years to their life and life to years. So let's cover out Time magazine. And finally, number 10, stress management. Chronic stress and fear shrinks your brain. When you're in fight, flight, or freeze, cortisol and adrenaline, it's not the best state to learn in, to study in, to take a test in. So those are the 10 keys. And so that's really the focus is to upgrade your brain. you don't have to, you have to do everything. There's no Limitless. It's interesting. Have you seen the movie Limitless? There's a movie with Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro. Anyway, he takes a pill and he gets really smart. He has this incredible memory. He's learning languages and writes his book in a handful of days and everything else like that. Dr. Mark Hyman, who's written 13 New York Times bestselling books, he's head of strategy and innovation at the Cleveland Clinic. He says, there's no genius pill, but Jim gives you the process for unlocking your best brain and your brightest future. And I say that because everyone wants the pill. There's no pill, but this is the process. Because you could do all of this and not be sleeping, and you're not going to be living to your potential. You could be doing all of this and be under a lot of stress, and you're not going to be able to do it. So I teach you how to lower and reduce that stress in the book. So this was a lot of information. I'm going to leave you right now with this last slide for people that are interested. Let's do this here. For people that are interested as students, if you want to stay in touch with me, I'm at Jim Kwik on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and all these platforms. I do these lives and I do Q&As. We're very active. If you want to text, people could text on my phone. It's a community text where I answer about 25 messages a day. No, you're not shared with anybody or anything else like that. It's not like a communal text. It goes directly to my phone. All right. So I also put out once a week tips. And so that's my actual number. And if you are interested in taking a free, going deeper in this, where I teach you how to memorize the 10 things and everything else, you can go to kwikbrain.com/study. And you could go through it at your own pace. I go a little bit deeper because I have a little bit more time, and I go through a masterclass, and you can sign up for that. And it's absolutely my gift to you. And if you want information about the book is called Limitless, and it's at limitlessbook.com, limitlessbook.com. I have a picture of it somewhere, or I actually have a picture of it here, right here. I could actually just show you. This is what the book actually looks like here. This is available. It's sold out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but they just got it back in because we were very fortunate. It did extremely, we were very fortunate that it did well. The book is not there, but I will show you a great picture. I've been, I'll end with this. I had, as you know, learning challenges, and I grew up in Westchester, New York, and I remember one of my on the weekends when I was 9 years old, I found out, I taught myself how to read by reading comic books. And my favorite comic book was the X-Men, not because they're the strongest, because they didn't fit in, and because I felt like I didn't fit in. They were mutants, right? How many of you have seen X-Men, the movies or something, or read the comic books? And I grew up in Westchester, New York. I found out the school for the X-Men, the school, Professor X's School for the Gifted, was in Westchester, New York. So on the weekends, I would ride my bicycle around on the weekends trying to find this school. I wanted to find the place where I belonged, where I felt like I could find my superpowers and find my super friends. And it was interesting because I never quite found it, but I was working with a studio, the chairman of 20th Century Fox one day, and I did my training for them all day, for their board, for their executive team. And afterwards I saw a movie poster of Wolverine, and I was like, I can't wait for that movie to come out. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you like superheroes. Do you want to go on set? I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we have another 30 days of filming a new X-Men movie. I'm like, wow, that sounds great. He's like, well, what can I do for you? He's like, do what you did for us. Teach them the speed read scripts and memorize their lines. And I was like, oh, I could totally do that. So the next morning I get on the plane and the entire cast of X-Men is on there. Like Halle Berry, Jennifer Lawrence, all these amazing individuals, right? Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Ellen, I mean, everybody, right? And so Ellen Page, and I was like, wow, I was like on the plane, I was teaching them my speed reading, memory, focus on camera, everything. We get to the film set in Montreal, and the first thing they shoot takes place in the X-Men school. And as a 9-year-old boy, my heart, my mind, I became a little child seeing my superheroes come to life. Anyway, fast forward, I come home after a week of spending time on set, and there's this photograph waiting for me. And it's this photograph, and me and the entire cast of X-Men. You see me with the Wolverine shirt with Hugh Jackman to my side and Jennifer Lawrence behind me, and it made just the whole cast. But even better than this photograph was a note from the chairman of the studio, and it said, "Jim, thank you so much for sharing your superpowers with all of us. I know since you were a child, you've been searching for your superhero school. Here's your class photograph. Here is your class photograph." And that just really, for me, it just blew my mind. It changed everything for me. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share this past hour. We're just at the 60-minute mark from where we started, and I hope you got some value. I talk rather fast, so you could listen to the transcription and everything else. And again, if you'd like to go further, go to limitlessbook.com and you'll get my 10-day program for free. We're donating 100% of the proceeds, my author proceeds, to build schools for young girls and boys in third world countries that don't have access to education. It pays for the teachers, their healthcare, their clean water, and Alzheimer's research. And or if you'd like more information about our program, go to kwikbrain.com/study and sign up for the free masterclass. And I'll teach some of the stuff again, but then other stuff. I'll show you actually how to memorize the 10 things and so much more. And I look also forward to seeing you as I share new information even more at the upcoming Congress with Richard and your peers. And what I wish for you right now is I wish you safety, I wish you strength. And remember this, your life is like an egg. And if egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. But if it's broken by an inside force, life begins. Great things begin on the inside, and you have greatness inside of you. You have genius inside of you. And thank you for allowing me to help you unleash a little bit of it today. And it's all about this: upgrading your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. Back in school, I hung out with all the geeks because I had the same interests. I didn't get the grades, but I wanted to play video games and read comic books and everything else like that. And I remember one day a teacher came in and said, "Hey, very good news. We're going to create a new program called MASP for all of you. MASP. It's the More Able Student program. More Able Student." And I was the only one that wasn't invited to be part of it. And I created a group for myself called LASP, Less Able Student Program. But it was for the exceptional kids. And my reason I say you could unlock your exceptional life here is because we all could have an exceptional life. And if you struggle in any area, your focus, your memory, your reading, your studying, or anything, and you're working really hard, like I had to work 3 times harder just to get worse grades than everybody else, is not your fault. It's just we were never taught how to do that. And that's why I wrote this book. My mission is to build better, brighter brains. No brain left behind. I want to thank Richard. I want to thank his entire team for allowing this to happen. I hope you got one key out of this. And if you would, remember, I said the fastest way to learn something is to teach it. So you could take a screenshot of this right now, or a picture of your notes, or a picture of this, tag them and tag the Congress, tag me at Jim Kwik, KWIK, post it, and I will repost some of our favorites. We're not quite at 1 million on people on Instagram, but we have a good following, and I'll actually gift a copy of this book to one random person also as well as my gift, just to play along. But while you teaching it to other people and you sharing an idea or picture of your notes, maybe it'll inspire somebody else to realize that they too can be limitless. My name is Jim Kwik of Kwik Learning, and I'm here to help you learn quickly. Thank you for allowing me to share with you right now, and I look forward to our next connection. I wish your days be full of lots of life and lots of love, lots of laughter, always lots of learning. Thank you.